This is Under Review, the show that talks about Colorado sports with a sprinkling of national sports stories as well. I'm Jordan Long. The preseason is finally here for the Denver Broncos as they face the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow, which is Saturday. Head coach of the Denver Broncos, Nathaniel Hackett, hasn't said if or how long his starters will play. I really don't think that Russell Wilson, the quarterback for the Denver Broncos, needs to play in this game because it's preseason and a meaningless football game. Russell Wilson is a veteran, and this is his 11th year in the NFL. Preseason doesn't mean a whole lot for him. He knows how to play the quarterback position in the NFL. Sure, it would be nice to see what he can do in this new Broncos offense, but the fact of the matter is, the Broncos coaching staff is seeing that in practice. I know practice isn't a game, but it's still showing the coaching staff something. The risk of putting Russell Wilson out there is he could get hurt in a meaningless football game. Why risk it? Do not play him. Yes, we may see Russell Wilson in the preseason at some point, but it doesn't make sense to play him in this football game on Saturday because both Dallas and the Denver Broncos are going to play their second and third stringers or backup players on both the offense and defensive side of the ball. Now, the Broncos fans may see Russell Wilson play a series at most if he's going to play. If Wilson is going to play in the preseason, look at preseason number 2, which is on August 20th against the Minnesota Vikings. This could be Wilson's extended action when the starters may play a half or even a quarter. Really, though, I'm not sure how much Russell Wilson really needs preseason football. He is a veteran, and why put him out there to get hurt? So really, I don't know how much we'll actually see Russell Wilson in this game or in the preseason at all. Now, for this game, though, there are positions to look at. First is the number 1 tight end position. Of course, there's Albert O, who should be in the mix, but even he will win the starting job or might win the starting job because it's going to be him and Greg Dulcich as number 1 and number 2. The question is, who's going to be number 1 and who's going to be number 2? The Broncos drafted Greg Dulcich in the 3rd round of this year's NFL draft. A great performance out of Greg Dulcich, and he could put himself in position to be the number 1 tight end on the depth chart if he plays well against Dallas. After that, Eric Saubert has a chance to show the coaching staff something. The Broncos, though, know there will be 2 tight ends on the field at once in some formations. You already know that's going to be Albert O and Greg Dulcich. You have to find depth at the position behind those 2. Now, if you look at another position, that is the number 3 wide receiver. Of course, we thought it was going to be Courtland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and Jerry Jeudy in the slot. Well, that's not going to happen because Tim Patrick is out for the year with a torn ACL. A huge loss for the Denver Broncos, but they have depth. Who stepped up in this preseason game? They have to show the coaching staff they can be the number 3 wide receiver on the depth chart. That could be KJ Hamler, Montrell Washington, or Kendall Hinton. All of these players are in the mix to be the number 3 wide receiver on the depth chart. A great performance against the Cowboys could give one of these receivers the edge. That is KJ Hamler, Montrell Washington, and Kendall Hinton the edge if they play well. Of course, it could be another wide receiver not even mentioned who could step their game up. Now, that is what you want if you're the coaching staff, to see a player that is not named KJ Hamler, Montrell Washington, or Kendall Hinton step your game up to say, yes, I deserve another look. Now, if you look at the running back, it's the same as it was last year with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. Those are going to be the 1-2 punch, and we saw how great it was last year. Mike Boone has his opportunity to be the number 3 running back on the depth chart. Boone, though, is more of a special teams player. Boone plays special teams, but he needs to show he can carry the rock, which is also the football. Show the coaching staff you can. One final position to look at least for this week, is the backup quarterback competition. Yes, the Broncos don't have a quarterback competition for the starter, but they do have one for the backup, and it comes down to Josh Johnson and Brett Rypien. Josh Johnson is listed as the backup quarterback for now, and he has started 9 games in his NFL career. It's not great. It's 1-8. 1 win and 8 losses. Johnson has passed for 2,270 yards and 13 touchdowns in his NFL career. The problem is Johnson cannot read defenses well with 16 interceptions. Again, though, he is a backup, so who knows what he will do in preseason games. He needs to show the coaching staff something. So does Brett Rypien. Rypien, he is another quarterback the Broncos like, as they signed him as an undrafted free agent, college free agent, in 2019. Now, Rypien has spent most of his time on the practice squad. Rypien, though, has seen some action for the Denver Broncos. He even started one game back in 2020 when the Denver Broncos played the New York Jets in Week 4. He honestly played okay in that game, completing 19 of 31 passes for 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Rypien hasn't started since. Overall in his career, Rypien completed 27 of 42 passes for 295 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Now, the truth is, I'm not sure which quarterback I would trust between Johnson and Rypien. Both are not Russell Wilson. The Broncos are going to play both Johnson and Brett Rypien the majority of the game tomorrow night. The thing is, whoever plays better just has the edge for this week. Or I should say the upcoming week. Who knows what the coming weeks will look like for the backup quarterback position between Johnson and Rypien. So that really gives you an idea of what positions to look for on offense during the Broncos' first preseason game, which is tomorrow night. Next week, I will let you know who played well in preseason game number 1, so be sure to watch for that next week. We're going to turn our attention to the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Seattle Seahawks have a quarterback competition of their own. It's between Drew Lock and Geno Smith. And honestly, neither one is really that good. Seattle is going to go with Geno Smith as their starter this week, but the competition is far from over. Smith should probably be the Seattle Seahawks starter if you look at it for just this week. Now, he has been in the Seattle system since 2020. This will be his 3rd season in Pete Carroll's system. Smith has been in the NFL since 2013 with the New York Jets and Seattle Seahawks. I get his stats aren't great. Overall, he has 13 wins and 21 losses as a starter, passing for 6,917 yards and 34 touchdowns in his career. So that's 6,917 passing yards and 34 touchdowns. Not bad, but his problem is he is getting picked off with 37 interceptions thrown. With Seattle, he was the backup to Russell Wilson. Sure, he only started 3 games and went 1-2, but that gives him the edge over Drew Lock. Now, Drew Lock was traded as part of the Russell Wilson trade. The thing about Drew Lock, he was with the Denver Broncos from 2019 to last year. Now, the thing about Drew Lock is I had high hopes for this guy since the Broncos selected him in the 2nd round of the 2019 NFL draft. So he was with the Denver Broncos since he was drafted in 2019 to 2021. Now, I was thinking Drew Lock could be the next franchise quarterback for the Denver Broncos. I was clearly wrong. The thing about Lock is he has a very strong arm. He can throw the football a long way, but he's not accurate. What I saw from Drew Lock is he had a wide receiver wide open. He trusted his arm too much and threw it over the head of that receiver. or a few yards too far. You can't do that. Sure, a great arm, but he also found the wrong color jersey or forced the ball into double coverage for picks. As a starter, Locke was 8-13 for the Denver Broncos, 8 wins and 13 losses, tossing for 4,740 yards, 25 touchdowns, and 20 interceptions. So if you look at both of these quarterbacks, they're not very good, but I think Geno Smith is the right guy to start against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Saturday. See what Smith can do for half or however long Pete Carroll wants him to go. The worst case is he struggles, giving Drew Lock a chance. Even if he plays well, Lock will have his opportunity. There's still plenty of time for Seattle to figure out who will be the number one quarterback on the depth chart. If you look at it, it's preseason, and it actually means a whole lot for Geno Smith and Drew Lock. I know these are meaningless football games, but for Drew Lock and Geno Smith, these are very important. Even if one is picked to be the starter in this week, in week 1, that could change. So let's just say Drew Lock gets a start next week. Well, that could change by the time Seattle plays the Denver Broncos in week 1. So there's still a lot of time for them to decide. The competition is far from over, but both of them aren't great quarterbacks, but one of them has to start. Seattle will have a new starting quarterback for the first time since 2012. That was Russell Wilson's first year. We're going to move on to the NBA. Now, Kevin Durant still wants to be traded. He's still currently a member of the Brooklyn Nets, and he's been with the Nets the past 2 seasons. Brooklyn has earned a playoff spot both years. 2020, lost in the second round. Last year, they were swept by the Boston Celtics. Okay, I get it. They were a playoff team. Why not stay there to build something? Well, Kevin Durant wants out. He basically told the ownership in the front office the only way he's going to stay in Brooklyn is if head coach Steve Nash, who is their head coach, is fired. Now, I don't see Steve Nash being fired. If you look at it, Steve Nash is entering his 3rd season with the Nets as their head coach. Nash's record is 92-62, and he earned a playoff spot both times. Sure, in 2020, Brooklyn went to the second round, and last year they were swept. I get it. You want playoff success. But going to the playoffs is actually success in my mind. You want to have a chance to do something special. I don't think Nash is going to get fired to start this season. I think they're going to play it out with Steve Nash this year. And if, there isn't much success, maybe fire him there then. But I just don't see him getting fired right now. So what does that mean for Durant? Well, it means he still wants out. I have talked about it before. Where will Kevin Durant be happy? He played for Seattle/Oklahoma, the franchise. So Seattle Supersonics/Oklahoma City Thunder franchise from 2007 to 2015. Durant then went to Golden State, and he was very successful there. Why I say he was successful there is he won 2 championships and was an MVP of both of the finals. Okay, it looked like he was going to stay there for a long time to be with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Well, not the case. Durant was a free agent in 2019 and signed with Brooklyn. Now he isn't happy there. My point is, the guy that is Kevin Durant is a great player, but will he be happy anywhere? I get the guy wants to win. Every NBA player wants to win. Well, there's one place I think he wants to go to. I've heard that this is his top landing spot and preferred destination, which is the Boston Celtics. The Celtics have earned a playoff spot for the last 8 years, and they went all the way to the NBA Finals, but lost to the Golden State Warriors in 6 games. Looking at that, yeah, it can make a lot of sense. Boston is a playoff team. I have also heard the Philadelphia 76ers. But really, Boston could be a great place for him to win. Looking at Boston, What would they have to give up for KD, Kevin Durant? It would have to be a lot. You're talking about first round picks, but a thing about a trade in the NBA is you have to match salary for salary. If you look at Durant's cap hit for next year, it's very large at around $44.119 million. I'm going to say that number again. Durant's cap hit is around $44.119 million. The Celtics would need to find a way to match it. So that could be the tricky part. One would think that Derek White would have to be in that trade, but he's a great bench player for Boston, and I don't want Derek White to go to Brooklyn because of that. I don't know if Boston wants to give White up. Even so, will the Celtics want to give up players like Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown? I heard a rumor that they actually tried to, that is Brooklyn, trying to say, hey, give us Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. Well, guess what? The Celtics said no. But if you look at it, Tatum was Boston's leading scorer at 26.9 points per game. Brown was second at 23.6 points per game. I would think any trade involving Kevin Durant, even though that Boston has said no, has to include Tatum or Brown. Here's why I say that. Tatum's cap hit is at around $30.35 million, and Brown is at around $26.669 million for next year. Dealing one of these players in the trade makes it easier for Boston to match Durant's salary in a trade for Brooklyn. Plus, maybe another player, and like I said, a few first-round draft picks. If I were Boston, I wouldn't trade for Durant. Not if you have to give up Tatum or Brown. Boston has a team who was close to winning a championship last year. Sure, Durant could help the outside shooting, but Boston took care of that in the offseason. They added Gallinari in free agency and traded for Malcolm Brogdon. These two moves make them not only a threat to win the Eastern Conference yet again, but advance to the NBA Finals and maybe, win it. Why would you want to mess with that? I know Boston and maybe Philadelphia, but definitely Boston is where Durant wants to play. It just doesn't seem likely. He's going to try to chase another ring. That is Kevin Durant. The thing is, though, let's say he's traded to Boston. Is that a place where he could be happy? Because he hasn't been happy in Oklahoma City / Seattle franchise or Golden State or even Brooklyn. I don't know if he would be happy in Boston. He may play 2 or 3 years and say, I'm done with Boston and move on, because that's what he has done. Would it be worth the risk if you're the Boston Celtics? We will have to wait and see, but Kevin Durant hasn't been moved yet, and he should be soon. Where will he go? Who knows? The watch is still on. I'm going to end the show with a great tennis player who I very much enjoy watching, and that is Serena Williams. Williams has decided that the U.S. Open will be her last tournament in professional tennis, which the tournament starts on August 29th and ends on September 11th. Of course, this is the last major of the tennis year. Williams' career goes all the way back to 1998. That year, she played in all 4 majors: the Australian Open, French Open, Wimbledon, and U.S. Open. Now, this was actually a taste of what Williams could do in the game of tennis. If you look at her first year, it really wasn't successful. And that was back in 1998. She didn't play that well except for the French Open, where Williams advanced to the round of 16. Her first ever major victory came in 1999 at the U.S. Open. Williams has actually won the U.S. Open 6 times. The Grand Slam is what every tennis player strives to do in a calendar year. She has a career Grand Slam, but she wanted to do it in a calendar year. So what does that mean? You end up victorious in the Australian Open, French Open, Wimbledon, and the U.S. Open in 1 calendar year. It's very difficult to do. As successful as Serena Williams was on the court, she never completed the Grand Slam in a calendar year. Yes, she has a career Grand Slam, and we'll get there in a moment, but she has never won all 4 tournaments in a year. In fact, the last women's tennis player to do so was Steffi Graf in 1988. Williams came oh so close to doing that in 2002 and 2015. In 2002, her missing piece was the Australian Open. She didn't even appear in the tournament. In 2015, she won every tournament except for the US Open. In that tournament, she came very close, but was knocked out of the semifinals. Now, if you look at her career, if you look at Williams' career, her Grand Slam titles is 23, which is second all-time in women's tennis. That is very impressive. She needs 1 to tie the leader. Williams has won every tennis tournament. The Australian and Wimbledon is where she has been most successful, as she has won those tournaments both 7 times. The US Open as a 6, while the French Open stands at 3. Now, she also played in the Olympics and won gold medals. She has won 4 gold medals, 3 in doubles and 1 in singles. Now, the thing about it is Williams is walking away from the game on her own terms. This is the last time we will ever see Serena Williams on the tennis courts. Now, I really encourage you to actually watch the US Open, because this is the last time you will ever see a great play this game, and that is Serena Williams. Of course, like I said, the tennis tournament starts on August 29th and ends September 11th. Please go out and watch Serena Williams. This is the last time you will ever see Serena Williams take the tennis court. I know she's going to play doubles and singles, but if you look at her singles, that's what you really want to watch for, because this could be a tournament where she does well. That would be the ultimate goal, is for Serena Williams to go out as a winner. That is the best case, is to advance to the finals. She may do it in doubles too, and that would be a great way to go out. But what I want to see is for her to do really well in the US Open. Now, the best case, though, is she advances to the finals. Worst case, she is out in the first or second round. Heck, you know what? Even going to the semifinals would be a great accomplishment. Maybe even 16. I just don't want to see her go out in the first round, which is still possible because of her age, and that the fact is that we have young players coming up. But please watch the US Open to see Serena Williams. This is the last time you will ever see her take the court. No matter what happens in the US Open, Serena Williams will be missed in the game of tennis. She had one great career, and I, for one, always tried to watch her because of her greatness. She will be missed. She is one of the GOATs, greatest to ever play. I'm Jordan Long. This has been Under Review. Read my blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays, with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com. That is sports-scoop.com. Check out all the shows that we have on the Sideline Sports Network, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel to see all of our shows, because we have them every single day. And if you subscribe, you will not miss any of our great shows. This has been a Sideline Sports production.